Hello, in this video I'll show you how to create this simple movie app that will let you search for any movie collection like Minions. You'll get the movies, you'll get the title, you'll get a rating, and you'll have a nice overview when you hover over it. I'll open Visual Studio, I'll file, open folder, I'll get this empty folder. Yes, I trust the authors. Let me make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so I'll create with npx create React app, movie app, and when everything gets installed, I'll come back. Okay, now that everything is installed, let me see the movie app, and npm start to start the server. We'll leave this in this tab so we can have a reference every time we need one. Okay, so let's clean this React app. So let's delete app, logo, not index, just app, logo, report, and setup. We won't need them. So app.css, we can delete everything. App.javascript, we don't need the header, we don't need the logo, we don't need the CSS neither. Here we can delete this, and this. In app.javascript, we can start by creating a div. In this div we'll have let's call it class name, let's call it search box, search nav. And in this search nav we'll have first a div with an h1 called movies, and then we'll have this search box. So in another div called, we don't need a name, just we need just a form, and in this form we'll have the input and we'll have a button as well called search. Nice. And then after the search nav that ends here, we'll have another div with the actual movies. So div class name movies. Let's end the div, and inside we'll have the movies. Now to get the movies, we'll have to actually fetch the API. So in readme, let me delete this, and I have my APIs here, so I'll have an API for the first 20 movies. If you want your API, you can go to TMDB, go to the first one, create an account, go to accounts, and then APIs, and you'll find your keys right there. Okay, now to use the information, here we have like the first 20 movies, so we have to store it somewhere, so we'll use useState, useState, and make sure you import, so import useState from React. So const, we'll call this movies, and set movies equal use state, and for now it will be empty. To fetch the API and not get an infinite loop, we'll have to use the use effect hook. So use effect, make sure you import it as well. So use effect, and and inside we can say fetch the API that we have to import in here. So copy, let's make a const as well, const API URL, so fetch the API URL, and then we'll use the old method, so then, because it's way simpler, you don't have to explain the async await. Then the response, we can parse it with res.json, and then the data that we get, we can then store it in set movies, and the data that we'll receive, it will be an object. It'll be an object console. Let's console the data as well, so console log data, oops, not data but movies, because we stored it in movies. And we get an infinite loop because useEffect needs another dependencies, and we leave it blank, so we don't get an infinite loop. This response has results, and we only need the results, the first 20 movies. So in data we can only specify data.results. Now if we refresh, we'll get the first 20 movies, and that's it. To actually print the movies on the screen, we'll have to go to the movies, and to map through the movies object, because this is an object. So movies dot map, and we'll have open brackets, and for each movie, so for each movie we'll have a movie card. So movie card. Now we actually have to create the movie card .javascript, and we'll get some boilerplate. Like this is simple. To get this boilerplate, you can download this app, ES7 React Redux, and you only have to type roughc. Okay, you get movie card. Let's import the movie card in app.js. So import movie card from movie card, and inside for movies.map, for each movie we can we have to delete this. For each movie we want a movie card. Movie card it's not defined because import movie, type it correctly, movie card. Oh, I mistype here, so we have movie, rename movie, yes, and here movie card, and the movie card, actually movie. Okay, we have to retype this, movie, and in app.js movie, and here movie card. We save it, we get the message from here that is inside, so movie card for each, but we don't want this, we want the actual information. So we'll have this div called card, and inside it we want the poster, so the image. We'll create another div called class name poster, and inside we'll have an image with blank source, so source blank. We need a description as well, actually the title, so let's name this info, and then we want let's say a paragraph with the class name of title, and then we want another paragraph with the class name of vote. To actually get the information into movie card, we have to use props. So we only have the information into app.js where we fetch the data, and to use it in movie card we have to spread the each movie. So we don't want to spread the movies, we want to spread each movie. So spread movie, and we can use it now in movie card with props. Let's refresh this so we don't have the we'll deal with this error later. So now in the title we can type inside JavaScript props.title, and we'll get the title for each movie. Now the vote, because it has for example each movie has a property called title, and now for the vote it's called vote average, so we'll have to use props that vote average, and we'll get the note as well. Now to get the poster path, it's a little bit different. We'll have we'll need the start of the link of the API. So in movie card.javascript, let's import const and API image. Nice. And now to get the source of each individual movie, we have to add the API image plus, because if you look at the end, we'll have to continue with each individual poster path. So we'll have to add this thing to the end of API image. So props dot poster path. And now we get the images for each movie. Okay. Now let's make it visible. Let's go to app.js and let's add some flex so you can see it better. In app.css we have a class name called movies, so that movies, and display flex and flex wrap wrap. Now it works. Let's delete the padding as well, because we have a default padding and margin. So padding 0 and margin 0. Let's get back to movie card, and here we want the image, it's obviously too big, so let's create let me delete all these things, save. Very good. Now let's create for movie card, let's create some CSS. So movie card.css, and let's import into movie card. So import movie card.css. Okay, now we want the image and the card actual first, the whole card, this whole card. We want it to be the width, we need let's say 15 rem, and the is it too big? No, it's okay. And now everything we should save. No, not the width of everything, we want the width of the card. Okay, and now if you go to we have to edit the size of the poster as well. So that poster, and we have inside the poster we have an image, so poster.image with 15 RAM as well, so it matches the card width very well. Now we have all the movies. Let's add some padding between each movie. So after the title, that card, let's add here some margin right, 1.5 should be enough, 1.5 RAM, and add the semicolon. Nice. And the margin right and margin bottom as well, margin bottom 1.5 RAM as well. Looks nice. Now we can go and style everything, but I think it's better to go finish all the functionality of the program. So we want, when we type something, we want a new collection of movies. For example, Marvel, we want the Marvel collection to show up. So to do that, we go to app.js. Let me open this app.js. It's actually kind of small. Yeah, let's leave it like this. So in app.js, let's make this a little bit smaller as well. Looks good like this. In app.js, we want first, let's get the link for API search to have it here. App.js. We need to import the API for search, so const and the API. And now when we click search, we want something to happen, so we go to the form, and when the form is submitted, when it's clicked search on submit, we want a function. We'll create a function called handle search, and let's create the function here, const handle search. It will be an arrow function, and we'll add an event, so we can we'll add an event, so when we click here it doesn't refresh. So event dot we'll call it E for short, event dot prevent default. And now this function should not refresh the page. Yes. Now to get the movies, we have to fetch again. We have to fetch the API search, and at the end of API search, we need to add the term that we search here, that we type in the input. So we have to get the term from the input. So here in input, when the input it's changed, so on change, we want something to happen. On change, we need an event again, so an event. And when this event happens, when we type something inside, we want to we want to store what it's typed inside a use state. So we'll create a new use state for the term. So use state, const, and we'll call this term, so search term, set term, and equals to use state, and it will be an empty brackets. So when this event happens, we want to set the term, to event, so e dot target dot value, because this is an object, this event, and it has some properties. We only need the target dot value, so just the word. And now when we type something, it's stored in the term. Now to get the actual movies, we have to add each term, so plus the term. We need to add the term at the end of API search, as we've said. Now that we get the link, we can say then the response, we want to parse it, so response.json, and then we want the data that we get to be stored in set movies. And we don't need all data, as earlier we only need data that results. Yeah, and now when we type, for example, minions, we get all the movies with minions. Very well. We'll get something like this, but we'll when we don't have an image for a movie, we'll handle it later. Now that we get the functionality, let's style this a little bit. So in movie card and movie.css, we want to add some padding to the whole thing. So we'll go actually in app.js, and for movies, for the whole thing actually, so in app we'll add a margin. We'll add a margin of 1.5 rem. Let's make this a little bit smaller, so we have 3. Okay. Now we want this to show up like actually, let's start with movies. We want this to be inline, so in app.js, this is in a div called the movies search nav. So in search nav, we need to make this flex search nav display flex, and let's make this align items center. Very well. Let's add some padding as well, some margin. So let's call this class name movie. Let's call this title. So we want the title to have some padding. That title padding right, let's say 3 rem. I think it's enough. Yeah, looks good. Now we want this to be inline as well, so we'll go to movie card. Let's flex this as well in the info part. So that info will do this display flex as well, flex, and justify content, space between, same thing, easy. We want the whole background to be a certain color that we have right here, this one. So we'll go to app.css and make the app background color to be this. Add a semicolon in CSS, not the app. Yes, the app. And we don't want this to be margin, we want to be padding. So okay, we want some padding underneath as well. So underneath the search nav, we want padding bottom 1.5 rem as well. Nice. Now let's go change the color of the info as well. So let's get the color from here. Go to moviecard.css and change the background color of the card actually. So background color, and we get this. Yeah, looks good. What's the difference? We need to add some padding to the info. So padding let's say 1 rem. I think it's too much. Yeah, it's too much. Let's add 0.5. Yeah, looks good. Let's change the whole font of the thing. So in app.css we need to add a font family of sans serif. Yeah, looks better. And what we can do now, we can what's on the list, we can do the overview as well if we want. Let's add the overview. We have to go to the movie card and actually add the information. So let's create another div called overview, class name overview, and to add we'll have to add a title. So let's do an h2 with the class name of title overview, and this is this is overview. Good. And to add the actual overview, like the information, we'll create another h3 with props inside, props dot overview. If you don't want to use these props all the time, you can just destructure it here. Instead of props, you just call every name that it will be after props, so you don't have to use this, but we'll stick with this for now. Props dot overview, and let's call this class name overview info. Nice. Now the overview, the actual overview, this we want to be hidden, and only when we hover over it we want to show up. So in info we'll say transform translate on the y-axis, so from down to the top, minus 100%. Transform translate I, and and we want everything that overflows we want to be hidden. And here, oh, not the actual info, we typed it inside info, we want inside overview, so that overview, because we were hiding just the information, not the actual overview. Good. Now it shows at the bottom, and we want at the overview, wait a second, yes, at the overview we want this, we want a height as well, because this is too big. So add a card with height, the height should be 25 rem, yeah, max height, max height 25 rem. And now something goes overflow, it's hidden, so the info, we have to type it margin. Now it's hidden, so to fix this we have to make the poster image height, let's set it max to 20 rem, no, 25 rem, 24, 23, let's leave it at 20. So max height, max width. Now this looks doesn't look very good. No, it doesn't look very good, so let's make everything smaller, because it's too big, with 13 pixels as well. And now everything looks good. It was a little bit too big anyway. Now the margin 0.5. Let's make the info This max width can be a little bit smaller. Actually, this is a little bit too big. So max width 15, height 13. I think this is a little bit too much. Yes, it's a little bit too much. So to change this, we'll have to go to the card max height 25 pixels. This oh, it's because of the overview. So in the overview, transform translate I, let's do position absolute. Yeah, that it was a little bit too much. I didn't know from where was the height, but it was from the overview. So now on the position absolute, we have to set the card to position relative, and let's say this top 0, bottom 0, left 0, and right 0. Top, bottom, left, right. This is set to relative, absolute. And now if we want it to show up when we hover over it, we have to go when we hover over the card. So that card overflow, hover, and we want to change that overview, and here the transform, we want it back to 0. So now when we hover over it, we get the overview, which will have a background color of this color. Let's delete this background color. Nice. And we hover, it's the same color as the info. We want some padding as well, so let's add here some padding. Let's say 1 rem. Is it too much? No, looks good. And now when the text is too much, it will be hidden. So let's change that. Overflow is set to auto, so we'll get a nice scroll bar. When we hover, when it's too long, we get a nice scroll bar. Let me check this. Okay, now everything looks fine. When it's little, it's little. Yeah, looks good. We can add some margin to the top as well. So margin top, set it to 3 rem maybe. Yeah, it looks good. Let's add some border radius of 2 rem. It's too much. Let's do 1.5. Yeah, looks better. The next thing to do, let's add some transition as well, because it looks doesn't look very good. Transition of 0.3 seconds and ease in out. Yeah, looks better. Now what's the difference? Because we have to add some shadow box as well, and to look the same as this one, I think I copied it in here. So you have to add this shadow to the card, that card. So in that card, let's add the box shadow, which is 0 pixel 5 10 0. Very nice. I think we finished with the cards. So let's go back to the search box. So in app.css, to make, we have to make this white first. So in movie, we have to that title and h1. dot title h1, let's say color white. And now this if you look closer, it has some the search box has some outline and border. We can delete those. So the input that is right here, so let's call this class name search box. Yeah, search box, it's not used. So search box will say margin border 0 search box, and we have to type input at the end because it's individual. Border 0, outline 0, and it's not the good class name, so it's not search box, it's search box form. Okay, search box form, and then input. Oh, I mistyped it here. Search box. I think it's enough for input. Yeah, it's enough. Search box input. And we need to copy this and do the same with the button. So the button, instead of input, we say button. Nice. And the color of the button should be white. It's kind of gray right now, so background color white. Good. For we want some padding between them, margin actually. So margin right, we'll say 0.1 rem. Yeah, looks good to me. We want some padding to the bottom as well, bottom. So padding 0.5 rem. Let's try this. It's too big. 0.3 rem. It's better. And we need some border radius of let's say 1 rem. Add semicolon at the end. Yeah, it looks good. Let's copy this to the input as well. Add semicolon. Yeah, it looks like the original. We can add some more padding here, margin actually, so 0.2, so it looks exactly the same. Now the rest, what we have to do, everything looks fine. Oh, we have to add some when the API doesn't have an image for the movie, it will automatically put nothing. So if we search for minions, we'll get this thing. This will have no image. So to fix this, we'll go to unsplash. Let's search for cinema, and let's find a good image. Let's find the same image. So this one, the Netflix. You'll just copy the image address, and in the we set the poster in movie card. So in movie card, we set the API image plus the props.poster path. This is the, if we have this, it will show up, but if we don't have it, we have to set this condition. So with a ternary, we'll say props.poster path. So this basically says if props.poster path exists, if we have something, you just add the normal thing. But if we don't have anything, we just end the ternary with and we add the Netflix image that we copied. So now when we don't have an image, the Netflix will show up. Good. What's left to do? We have the title, the Netflix, we have the transition. I think that's it. Thank you for watching the video. Subscribe, like, and I'll see you in the next video.